Welcome to Heaping Spoonful, a twice-monthly conversation with restaurateurs, chefs, growers, and others who have helped generate the legends associated with eateries across the Mid-South. The team at Benny Keith is proud to sponsor this adventure with the goal of preserving the stories that have helped cultivate an amazing food scene across the Mid-South. So kick back and enjoy a Heaping Spoonful.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast land, and welcome to another episode of Heaping Spoonful, the program where we visit with chefs and restaurateurs from some of the amazing eateries across the Mid-South. I'm your host, Kelly Bass, and I've been proud to be an active participant in the restaurant scene for more than 35 years. Back in prehistoric times, no internet, thus no Yelp or TripAdvisor, I was a features writer for the Little Rock newspaper, and restaurant reviews were part of my beat. Today, everybody with an internet connection can be a critic, but not everybody can get the chance to have a cool podcast like Heaping Spoonful. So thanks to Benny Keith Foods for making this happen. Today, I'm talking with Donnie Ferneau, one of the most honored and acclaimed chefs in Central Arkansas for, a long time now, more than 15 years for sure. So greetings, Donnie, and thank you so much for taking time to join us today on Heaping Spoonful.
Absolutely. Happy to have a chat with you.
Good.
Kelly?
Well, we're recording this in mid-April of 2020, and the whole world is basically shut down as we wait for the coronavirus pandemic to move past us. But one place that's not shut down is Donnie Ferneau's place, Cathead's Diner. During this troubled time, I've watched you guys that you're actively promoting what you're serving via curbside pickup at your fabulous restaurant in East Little Rock. Has that been going fairly well for you? I know you're busy.
Well, it appears to look that, we're busier than I anticipated at times, but I mean, it's I don't think any of us are at the numbers
sure.
that we were just 2 short months ago. But, the takeout program and the curbside was something that we've toyed with for, about a year now. And we're actually developing an app, and we started on that about 6 months ago. And what a time to jump into it.
Right. Well, baptism by fire. Well, you told me, we were chatting earlier, that you're basically running a restaurant that needs quite a few people with about 3 people, which is the way everybody's having to do it. So I know it's stressful and tiring. And, I'm hopeful by the time most, if not all of the folks are checking this episode out in podcast land, that we'll be living in a semi-normal world again, and your fans can walk into your restaurant, go through the line, and sit down and eat with one another. But at least you're keeping it going for now. Have you talked to many of your friends and colleagues who are also making a go of it on the curbside takeout and delivery business?
I mean, absolutely. And to be more transparent about it, I have. And it's, when you think about, and during your intro, you were talking about, social media, and back kind of when all of us got started, there was no Yelp, there was no Instagram, Facebook, any of those platforms to kind of speak from. And, and we kind of feel like those people have been battered, and no matter how much you ask us how things are, we're always going to say it's okay and it's great. Our Facebook presence, just like you said, we appear to be busy. And, and my other friends I've spoken with, they all appear the same. But when we have these conversations and it's just the 2 of us on a phone, it's kind of gruesome to say, but you kind of have strength in numbers. And the one thing that kind of keeps me going, it makes me know that I'm not the only one going through this. And so, to circle back to that question and just answer it, everybody's having a rough time right now. And the ones that aren't, how close are you to them? I guarantee you that same person, if you have the same blood going through your veins, or you work with them every day, you know what the reality of it is. And if it's just a conversation, hey man, everything's going great. It's what we all tell the public.
Right.
But right now it's uncertain. We're all scared, and
sure.
Just hold on tight. Go for the ride.
Our friend Rusty Mathis at Benny Keith just told me today the company's rolled out a new tagline: eat local, eat often. Donnie, my wife and I are doing our part. Yeah, we're cooking home more than we usually did, but when I'm out in the world, I'm going by restaurants and ordering enough to last us for at least a couple of days. And then I'm tipping way better than I usually tip on takeout. And this is going to really be important. What I really want people to think about, and again, I'm hopeful things will be a little more normal by the time we get this out on the internet. Once everything is opened back up, people need to get out and support their friends and their favorite restaurants, because they're going to need our help. They're going to need us to, you know what, eat local, eat often.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. But I've been in this business a long time, and you can have a business with hopes and dreams, or have one with actually like real statistics and numbers. And the hope is people will, but I think unfortunately the reality of it, is not that. And just like you said, you go out and you tip well. Believe it or not, Kelly, I'm just like you, and right now I'm bleeding cash.
Sure.
But I'm still tipping. I mean, just being in the industry, we always tip each other real well. It's the culture.
Right.
We're all broke, but we take care of each other. But you'd be surprised at the people that aren't tipping and that are still being rude.
Yeah. That's...
and so thank you for spending your time and money with us local, restaurants, and tipping and taking care of your servers, because it's been rough.
Well, that's the thing, there's a large segment of the population that's in more of a standard business model and live paycheck to paycheck, but servers live day to day. They're buying groceries today with the money they made last night, working a long shift in a restaurant. So we're all having to look out for one another. But
the whole industry.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but the whole industry is capital driven. It's all capital driven. So, even though it's a restaurant that's doing great right now, the moment you take that, that source away of cash, it collapses itself. Our think about Dillard's. If all their clothes on their clothes racks expired in 7 days, there's expiration dates on what we're serving, and it is a capital driven business. And so when you look at that, the hopes and dreams of everybody going out and eating, at this point right now, we're going to survive this, but I can't tell you the next time I'll see 100 people waiting in my line,
sure,
standing up on each other, looking over each other's shoulder to see what we have on our hotline,
Yeah, I know.
So I know. Be creative with what the next step is.
Well, as I said, I'm hoping most people are going to hear this when we are back up and running as a country and as a restaurant industry. And, one thing I've learned about you over the years is that you're comfortable working across culinary genres. Cathead's is world-class comfort food. And you've been open, you opened about 2 years now. Is that about right?
Yeah, June of 2018.
June of 2018. Okay, so we're moving in on 2 years. So tell us how it came to be, and how it was going before all of this happened.
So Cathead's, what's my background? I've cooked super fine dining. I've tried healthy. I've done all of it, and I've kind of a dinosaur as well in the Little Rock food industry. But I've won some and I've lost some, and the reason I lost a lot of times was because I went and did it out of passion, and didn't look at the numbers, and a few times, believe it or not, Little Rock wasn't ready for it.
Right.
And so now when I took a step back and I looked at what I wanted my next step to be, I want to work hard. I want to have a family life. I want to give the customers what they're looking for. And, there's a blog out there, and I'll tell you, it's called The Mighty Rib.
I know it well.
You're a restaurateur, and you can put your chef pants away for a minute and look at it through the eyes of somebody that wants to make money. He asks questions every time, and Little Rock answers those questions. And if you read those answers, Little Rock tells you what they want. They're literally telling you right there, if you can read a few of those, posts from The Mighty Rib, and just listening to what people and looking at what restaurants are busy. And so I knew that Arkansas in this region, especially post 9/11, wanted comfort food.
Yep.
And they wanted something that kind of spoke volumes about this region, because food kind of gets lost. And if you look at, Kelly, like the new type of chefs we have coming up right now, they're cooking everything. They're inspired by so many different sources because they do have Facebook, Instagram, all that. So it's really cool. They're getting a plethora of knowledge quickly. And I kind of felt like Little Rock's food that was indigenous to this region, it was kind of getting drowned out. And so, I think it's cool. It's a trend right now, but, Cathead's is really just, over the years, everything I've done, I want to build a restaurant that's busy, that Little Rock likes, that they want. And, one that's not open late at night with a bar.
Yeah.
Although we all love cocktails, unless you've owned a bar.
Right.
It comes with this whole new special type of challenges. But, just have something that's breakfast and lunch, and you get to work with the business people and all that.
Sure.
That was really my ambition behind this. And we did really well. And we watched the neighborhood grow, and like any construction, it takes longer than anticipated. I said we opened in June of 18. We were hoping to open end of 2017, but the point I'm getting at, that whole neighborhood was growing, construction was slow, and we just started to see some really positive numbers this January.
Yeah.
So the restaurant was kind of starting to get really good on track. You know, the construction across the street at Rock Dental, Fidel & Co. is put in, the rail yards, and the neighborhood's really maturing. And then, 4 months into it, hello, coronavirus is here. And so now it's, I'm sitting down rethinking right now, like, holy shit, like, I'll be 45 on Thursday, and did I just spend my entire life trying to build something that is going to be irrelevant,
Well, and I'm always the optimist, and I relevancy will return. It's just a matter of when, not if, but I still know it's painful.
No, absolutely. And relevancy will get there, but again, going back to saying how it's a capital-driven business, how much funding can one person put into something waiting for that to happen? And like I said, right now we're optimistic. We have no plans to close the doors, but we're definitely rethinking, how we can reach those numbers that we used to hit. How can we conform with what our clients want? What is going to be the new need, and how do people want to consume our food and patron our business? And so we just want to make it available. And again, it's like restaurants doing great. Now let's just rethink this.
Yeah, no,
we
I
like
know.
the Catheads bring. We love the food, but if you talk to any one of us chefs, I mean, shit, man, we'll just start 3 weeks ago. I just started being able to sleep at night about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Well, and I know. And I hope that some of the small business support that the government's been able to do through these small business administration loans will help tide some people over and keep people paid the best they can keep them paid.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, the area is known as the East Village. And as you said, you've got a cool coffee shop across the street. You got the rail yard behind that. Rock Dental's moving in the business. You got all the folks in the building where you are at Cromwell, one of the leading architecture firms in the state of Arkansas. Yeah. It's really happening.
They're the developer for the neighborhood. I mean, Cromwell. I mean, to mention them, but I mean, they're the flagship. They're the business that brought everybody over there. It was their baby, and it's beautiful. I love it over there.
Oh yeah, me too. And right, Heifer International, one of the great nonprofits in the world, much less in Little Rock's right down the street, and Lost 40, and all Rebel Kettle. It's just it's a cool scene over there. Well, I've have known you for a good long while, and I know that you came to Arkansas because your family, your parents came to Arkansas for your dad's job at Union Pacific. And you worked in restaurants here with some of the best people. I mean, you worked with Paul Novicki in the kitchen at Spallet, which was ahead of its time when he and Scott had that spot. And you worked with Michael Seelig at Vermilion Water Grill, and then a good while at Chowbachi, which remains a fabulous restaurant with really inventive food, while the other two, those folks have moved on to other things. What did you learn at those stops that prepared you to open your own restaurant called Ferneau right at the end of 2004?
Well, I worked with Paul for a very short stint. I think it was about 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I got to see really it was kind of cool because he was cooking for the 1% of Little Rock. And he introduced me to what Little Rock's cuisine kind of the benchmark was. And it was very different than what I had learned. And so he kind of helped put my tires on the ground and point me in the direction that I should go in, because the style I was cooking was just a little bit more refined. I don't want to say more refined. It was just different that way. But he gave me a really good introduction to Arkansas. And then, I was so blessed to get to work with Mike Seelig, and Mike taught me so much. Mike's really down to earth, and he was smart. He started being F&B, I think, 10 years ago?
Yeah, at the Clinton Center.
And he's doing a wonderful job, but he's always been a great mentor. And then getting to work with Suzanne Boscarolo over at
Chowbachi, yeah.
Yeah, and one person I want to mention, because she gave me a shot, and directly after 9/11, talking about how long I've been here, I got to work with Kathy Webb at Lily's Dim Sum.
Oh, I knew that.
For a while. Yeah, and Kathy and I, built a really great friendship, and I love Kathy, and I just learned a lot, man. I learned, what I learned more is I gained a lot of really good friendships and people I could lean on, and and gather knowledge from. Because, of course I'm a chef, so I'll be a little egotistical. Shit, I already knew how to cook.
Right.
I just need to know how to cook for my audience,
Right. And
those are some great people to put me in front of. And,
just like you, and who now works really hard earlier in the day and gets to leave at some point after lunch, Mike Seelig at 42 Bar and Table at the Clinton Center, I mean, they're now doing some evenings, but I mean, for a very, very long time, it was lunch only. So he's another man who liked to have a family life outside of, and you talk about, the realities of owning a restaurant that has a popular bar, and man, the bar at Ferneau was a hopping spot. It was a see and be seen place, and you were the star of the show because you're the man of the, it's named for you. You're the chef. You're the front guy, and that doesn't mean going home at 9:00 at night. But what a cool spot there in the Ice House Center in Hillcrest, and that was again, it hit its point of being. I know it won some best new restaurant awards in Arkansas Times poll and won some other best restaurant awards, but that had to be grueling from again. It's one thing to be a chef, and that's a great thing. And like you said, you knew you could cook, but running a business puts a whole different side of pressure on it, and you're doing it again now. But what was it like, being a even younger man running a really acclaimed and very popular spot in Hillcrest?
It brought me a lot of great relationships, I could say. But, I took all that information. I worked with all those other people, and with my background, that's what I created was Ferneau. And I knew that, I knew the bar design. I knew all those things. I knew the clientele I really wanted to hit. And damn it, with that concept, we really did it right, my business partner and I. And it was a lot of fun. And if you remember, Kelly, I can still remember that Ferneau at the time, there was no iPhones or anything. And when we opened in 2004, there were cell phones, of course, but it really was. There wasn't that big hubbub, and there was no Yelp. There was no food bloggers. There was no online anything. And I do remember, and I'll say it, when I became what I would call a chef and written about in great words, it was by actual journalists that, like yourself, the newspaper that came in, that you weren't all buddy with when they walked in the door.
Right.
You kind of left them alone and hoped to just piss them off.
Let them do their thing.
And I remember one time, Eric Harrison came in to eat. I still don't even know if he ever knows this, but I remember the ahi tuna I used to have at the restaurant.
I loved it.
Everybody went
crazy
over. Well, I was over at Chow Bachi for a while, and my sous chef at the time decided to stay and be the executive chef. Well, Eric Harrison came in, and I had just run out of tuna, and I was getting a new shipment in the next day. And he ordered the tuna, and I was like, the server's like, Eric Harrison's in here right now. Like, what do you, chef, I know you're out of tuna. Don't say a fucking word. We're not 86 in anything. Let the food writer order what he wants. And lo and behold, he ordered the tuna.
Oh.
On my end, it only takes about 4 minutes to prepare. You just take the chill off, see it ready to go. I left the back door for Ferneau, sprinted all the way to the back door of Chow Bachi, called Greg Lloyd, the executive chef there at the time, grabbed some tuna and ran all the way back. He never knew a thing.
Oh, that's great.
Went down. But nowadays, I guess the point of the story is the game has changed,
sure.
A little bit. We're food bloggers, but I just remember it being that much, and I was the executive chef, the owner, all of it, and there was just a lot there. And I remember when iPhones and people, camera eats first kind of vibe started. Jay Cranford, not to name drop, he was the first glowing face in Ferneau with an iPhone. He was the first customer ever that I saw with an iPhone in a dining room because we had those dim lights. You remember?
Sure.
And then, I think a month later, every face was glowing, and then the whole culture of put your phones away started.
Yeah.
And, running Ferneau, man, was a good time. I learned a lot, and I'm glad I still have the same friends I had then. So.
Sure. Well, that's right when you were getting open. There's when I met you, and I was judging a culinary contest at a kidney foundation fundraiser. And, every other contestant had prepared their food, brought it over, were holding it warm with sterno, opening up their tray, and you were getting a piece out and eating it. And you were firing off pan-seared scallops in real time. You just had your pan, and you had some fire, and you were firing them off and handing them to them hot right out of the pan. And you know what? You won, and you won that contest 3 years in a row. And I wasn't a bit surprised. But that's when I first said, okay, he's separating himself from the rest of the field here with that. So I always thought that was cool. I know I've told you about that over the years, but it was very memorable to me. But listen, we're going to take a short break here on Heaping Spoonful. Y'all stick around. I'll be right back with the inimitable Donnie Ferneau.
I hope you're enjoying this episode of Heaping Spoonful. We at Benny Keith Foods enjoy talking about the food scene almost as much as we enjoy providing the top quality ingredients that help restaurateurs and chefs across the Mid-South create their magic. Now let's dive even deeper into the culinary world with your host, Kelly Bass.
All right, everybody. This is Kelly Bass with Heaping Spoonful. We're visiting today with Donnie Ferneau, owner, operator, chef at Cathead's Diner in the East Village section of Little Rock, a really cool comfort food restaurant that's doing great breakfast and lunch and Sunday brunch, which is quite a popular spot itself. But again, we've had a lot of chefs on here who have talked about the fact that just because you can cook doesn't mean you necessarily should own your own restaurant. And you talked about what you've learned along the years. And one thing you learned was that give people what they want. And what they want is, in Little Rock, Arkansas, is a lot of what you're doing. So talk about that balance between being a great chef and also dealing with the issues of owning and running a business. I guess it's just a reality check day to day.
Oh, it definitely is. It is a reality check day to day. And, and what I'm about to say is in no way talking negative about Arkansans or you have to take it with the size of the city that you're living in, I guess. And, I think the biggest challenge for owning a restaurant in the South or this part of the country, and I'm just going to say it, is a lot of it's the workforce. And I think it goes across that with every field. And it's as of like 2020, the new generation's coming up. And right now, being a chef, you look at it through the eyes of, you're the one making every dish and everybody has to love it. And they will love it if you're cooking, for a small group of 20 to 40 people. But, to be an owner, operator, and to be a chef, you have to be able to teach to the workforce that you have given. And, and when I was a young chef, man, I remember working on the line at Cafe Patou and there was 5 of us that all thought we were better than each other. And we would get there an hour early and stay, as late as we needed to. And our mise en place was always set. We came to work with our whites pressed and not wearing our chef jacket in public, like the whole nine, Mm-hmm. And it's just a different age. It's a different time. And so, I guess that's to be a restaurant owner and operator, teaching your staff to be able to duplicate the expertise that you want and your high standards. You have to realize where the reality of what standards you're going to get from the staff that you have. I'm probably just rattling about it, but
no, I understand. Yeah.
That's kind of,
you want to find the people.
You got to find people that can duplicate what you're up to. Because, like you said, when we first met, I was doing that out of a scallop pan and nobody else was. It's not that I was better. I just looked at it through a different scope. And so, me teaching my staff, and right now, the heyday of Ferneau, the staff I have right now, I would absolutely claim them to be, probably the best I've worked with this far. But going back to the question, you want to be a chef, you want to put hands on everything and cook everything, but you also have to manage and be kind of HR, be,
sure,
be their friend, be their leader, be all of it, but then also understand the numbers and understand, like, hey, if we're not busy, we got to start cutting folks. And you have to understand food costs. You have to understand how many seats, how many asses you need in those seats every hour to survive during the week. And, you have to really turn your craft into a numerical game on a graph and make sure all of your numbers and your formula works. Because, unfortunately out there, the word executive chef is given away too loosely. And a lot of them come in because they've won a couple awards or a food blogger gave them notoriety. And then you put them on your staff and their food costs, let them do some ordering or some food. They trim meat, they're throwing away, 20% of what they should be keeping,
Sure.
They should be keeping. And, it's just, I guess, being a restaurateur and a chef, you I don't want to say you lower your standards. You have to have realistic standards and be able to teach your staff to get them to where you need them to be. And for me as a chef and an owner, that's probably been my most challenging part. But, I've worked in a lot of cool places, and the staff I have now has definitely stepped up to the challenge, especially for this Corona virus pandemic that we have
right
on our plates right now.
Well, again, from the early days, you've been a high-profile chef. Of course, having Ferneau with your name on it and having the acclaim that it had and the popularity it had. And then those who know you and have followed you know you've had a couple of shorter-lived projects between Ferneau and Catheads that you had Good Food by Ferneau and Argenta, and then you had some time at 1836 Club. Is there any lessons you learned through those that will help you going forward?
Yeah, the one is Arkansas does not want anything healthy, and your clients either want to get married, go to the beach, or they have a terminal disease, and every single one of those people will expire.
Yeah.
Or clients will expire. So that again, as a business person, that was a passion project.
Right. Right. That wasn't one that
1836. Yeah, that wasn't one that was gonna. I thought it was. Shit, I even traveled. I traveled to a lot. At that time, I was traveling a bunch, and every city I went to, their busiest restaurants were healthy. And so I'm like, I really have something here. I'll be the first one in Arkansas, in Little Rock, to do it. And there's a reason why I was the only one.
I understand.
But and I'm not knocking Arkansas. It's a different time. It's food that we don't understand. Where I come from up north. Shit, if you don't change your menu every month, you're not progressive enough. And what I love about, and that's there's pluses and minuses of that. And down here, people want to have something. They want to eat the same steak they ate 3 years ago on their anniversary.
Sure.
Do you blame them? Or the fried chicken, stuff like that, the ahi tuna. So it's just different scopes. Not that because we don't like healthy, we're not good people.
Right.
But it was too early, I guess. I was doing using alternative sweeteners and using all non-GMO and locally sourced stuff. And
I think people want to eat healthy at home. They want to eat healthy at home, then they want to go out and have pizza or biscuits and gravy or fried chicken.
They want to eat healthy, and you tell them it's healthy, but they only want to pay $7 for it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Sure, sure.
Okay. So then moving past that, then going to the club, the club kind of, for a while there, it made me feel at home. I was working for clients I'm used to, and it was, very slow paced and just, I was cooking fine dining. So I was in my comfort zone. And, during that time, it was just able for me to kind of grab my boot, grab my ideas and put them on paper and really formulate what my next move was going to be because, I wanted to do something that I didn't have to work at night all the time. I don't mind working at night, but when you work every night, it's
sure.
I'm getting old, brother.
No, I understand. And you'd run your own show, and so that was going to be you were showcased there, but that wasn't. You didn't own the place, and so, but it did position you to make the move.
So much less stress too.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, I know.
Yeah. Owning your stuff isn't. It's like the risk versus reward.
Right.
And so, when I owned Ferneau and all that stuff, man, I never wanted to own a bar again or have it to where people would text me on New Year's Eve because they thought they knew the owner.
Yeah.
I was so far over that shit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That wasn't my gig. My feelings weren't hurt that I didn't own the club, nor was I the feature. I was getting to cook food. And if you remember, you've been there before, correct?
Oh, yeah, several times.
Yeah, so no, it wasn't bustling at any one time.
No, and it's it was a legislators hangout and the governors hangout and a Rusty Mathis hangout, and it's a fun place. But no, it's not. It's a different model. It's a private club, and it's a private supper club, not just a private drinking club. But it has drinks and cigars.
Like 30 people a day.
Yeah, exactly. Well, besides Chef Donnie and restaurant owner Donnie, there's TV Donnie. So. You've twice been featured on Food Network shows, right? Barbecue Blitz and the Great Food Truck Race. So how did all that come to be, and what was that like?
That was fun. The Food Network stuff, and it's kind of crazy how it all started. I had, I can't remember if it was season 5 or 6, but I was supposed to do some work with Top Chef. And I don't want to break anybody's hearts or their idea of what it really is, but it's scripted. Mm-hmm. And the role I was going to play, my grandmother probably wasn't going to approve, and I think it's cool the way it's done now, but it just wasn't the right time. And TV stuff was fun. Ever since we did the interview and, I met with them in Miami, we had a lot of opportunity, and we had a lot of really cool shows that were pitched at me and my wife at the time. We were working with Esquire Network and then the Travel Channel. But if you know anything about TV, it's all pitching, and then you shoot a pilot, and then if it's picked up and all that. And
right.
Her and I were in lingo for about a year and a half with two different TV shows we were working with were about travel and food, and we were super pumped. I was like, holy shit, I get to travel the world, and we'll get to do some cool stuff. Well, you know, the show, the network, it was Esquire, and you see where Esquire Network is now. I don't think it even exists, really.
Right.
But, you know, it didn't pan out, and so then, you know, a couple of them were like, hey, you want to do this? We had an opportunity to win $50,000 on a great food truck race. And I was at the club. It's like, shit, let's go do it. Let's have fun. Mm-hmm. And we did. That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
Got married, and then 6 months later we did that show. And then, you know, barbecue blitz, all that stuff. Once you've done TV, you know, it was neat. And it's a lot of fun. You'll get hit up by different shows here and there.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and if there's money on the table and I get a chance to win it, shit, yeah, I'm gonna try it.
Yeah, what the heck? It's good for brand. It's good brand equity as well. You know, I mean that's a big deal. I'm glad you got those opportunities. Well, listen, brother, I thank you so much for taking time to visit with me today. Rest up, do the best you can through the tough times, and they will get better. I appreciate all our listeners tuning into this episode of Heaping Spoonful. Please check back soon for additional episodes. And catch up on older ones you might have missed. They're all right there in podcast world, just a click away. See you, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Heaping Spoonful. On behalf of all of us at Benny Keith Foods, Mid-South Division, please know how much we love connecting you with the legends of the culinary scene and their unique stories. I look forward to the next time we can offer you another Heaping Spoonful.